Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. A very warm welcome to our final session of the Road Safety Capacity Building Program. Before we get started, just a very quick reminder to everyone again that we do have Russian translation available for our Russian speaking colleagues. Mark, if we can move to the next slide. Just so at the bottom of your Zoom screen, if you do require translation, if you click on the little globe that says interpretation, and then you can select the English channel or the Russian channel as needed, and you'll be able to hear the interpretation. Fantastic. And we'll move to the next slide. So once again, a very big welcome to everyone for joining this last session of our Road Safety Capacity Building Program that is kindly supported by the Asia Pacific Road Safety Observatory, the APRSO, the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation, the CAREC program, and the Asian Development Bank. So the grant funding for this series was kindly received from the Japan Fund for Prosperous and Resilient Asia and the Pacific, which is financed by the government of Japan through the ADB. So once again, a very big welcome to everyone. My name is Jessica Trung, and I am from Lersninger, a specialist consultancy that specializes in Vision Zero planning. And I'll be your host for today. So for those of you that have joined us for the last 3 sessions, you know that this is the 3rd edition of the webinar series that we have run for 2025. And in this very final session, we will be exploring different avenues of funding for road safety. So as you can see on the screen, we've got an array of outstanding speakers that will be joining us today to share some innovative funding mechanisms for road safety, looking at different funding models and some case examples on how you could potentially apply some of these resources that will be discussed. So joining us today, we have Mr. Chen from the Asian Development Bank. And then we also, very shortly, we'll have Neka Henry, who's the head of the UN Road Safety Fund. We'll also have Greg Smith, who's the CEO of IRAP, Ms. Mei Ling Tan, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility from Bridgestone Asia Pacific. And last but not least, we are joined by Chinara Kasman-Bitova, Director and Project Manager of Public Association Road Safety. As you can see, we've got a great lineup of speakers, so please make sure you stay until the very end. As usual, we'll have an opportunity to be able to hear from each of these speakers, and then we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So please do get your questions ready. And you'll know that at the bottom of your screen as well, that we have a Q&A box where you can type in any questions that you have, and we will be able to answer some of those questions either in the Q&A section at the end, or I'll also encourage each of the speakers to jump into this section and answer any questions throughout the session if you've got any that's directed at you. And as usual, we also encourage you to interact with each other through the Q&A box as well, or through the chat function. And if you think you know some of the answers, please do feel free to share that with the rest of your colleagues. So with that, I thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the session. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome Chen from the Asian Development Bank to join us and provide some welcoming remarks for this final session of our road safety series. Thank you, Chen. You're just on mute at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jessica. Okay, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And dear colleagues and friends, very good afternoon from Manila. Welcome to the final session of 2025 Road Safety Capacity Building webinar series. Thank you for joining us for today's discussion on innovative funding mechanism for road safety. I'm Chen, Director for Transport Sector Office of ADB. It's my pleasure to open this concluding session on behalf of ADB. This year, we successfully delivered 14 webinars sessions across the thematic series, focusing on road safety data, sustainable transport, and financing. We are pleased that on average, 160 people engaged in each session, demonstrating both the strong regional demand on road safety capacity building and the value these webinars provide us as a platform for learning and collaboration. In 2025, the APRSO and the CAREC program jointly delivered this comprehensive webinar series. Each series was designed to support our members in the region in strengthening road safety systems and addressing shared challenges through dialogue and knowledge exchange. As APRSO approaches its fifth year, the Observatory has contributed to expand its impact across the region. In 2025 alone, APRSO supported the launch of safe system maturity assessments in Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Armenia, and Bhutan, providing governments with clearer, evidence-driven pathways for actions. It also delivered technical assistance and advisory support to ADB-funded projects in Nepal, Laos, and the Kyrgyz republics, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia, helping to strengthen road safety components in ongoing investments and projects. APRSO further convened the largest regional road safety conference for Asia and the Pacific in September, bringing together more than 300 participants from 45 countries, including ministerial leaders. Colleagues and friends, I would like to highlight the significant role of CAREC program in advancing road safety across the CAREC region. CAREC has recognized the road safety as a strategic priority within its transport agenda, and the recently completed midterm review of the CAREC Transport Strategy 2030 highlighted the continued importance of road safety as a core pillar of regional transport development. The midterm review emphasizes the need for stronger cross-border corridor safety, better integration of safety system principles into the infrastructure planning, and enhanced coordination across member countries. These findings will guide the next phase of CAREC transport and road safety agenda. As part of these efforts, CAREC will convene the first road working group meeting in Urumqi, China in March 2026, where countries will have an opportunity to review the progress, exchange practical solutions, and set priorities for advancing road safety cooperation and other pressing issues. Importantly, CAREC is now exploring the establishment of regional transport financing facilities, and road safety is one of the subjects we are considering. Such a facility may aim to provide more structured, comprehensive, and sustained support to member countries of CAREC program. This facility will help strengthen institutional capacity, improve data and monitoring system, support project design and implementation, and facilitate regional knowledge sharing, ultimately enabling countries to scale up road safety efforts more effectively and consistently. CAREC and APRSO also plan to jointly pilot new AI tools capable of capturing and analyzing key road safety performance indicators to support more proactive and evidence-based decision-making. The final edition of the program for 2025 focuses on financing, one of the most significant challenges countries face in advancing transport actions. Throughout the previous sessions, we examined government financing models, MDB pathways, investment performance metrics, private sector engagement, innovative funding mechanism, and practical case examples. Today, we will bring these insights together and discuss how they can shape more effective and innovative financing approach for road safety. Colleagues and friends, I extend sincere appreciation to all speakers today They will share their expertise and real-world experience across this webinar. Our gratitude also go to APRSO and the CAREC program for their strong partnership and shared commitment to supporting safer mobility across the region. We also acknowledge the generous support of the government of Japan and Japan Fund for Prosperous and Resilient Asia and the Pacific, whose contributions made this webinar series possible. Lastly, thank you for all participants for your engagement and feedback throughout 2025. Your active involvement shows the importance of continued regional collaboration and learning as we work together to reduce road trauma. Looking ahead to 2026, we plan to offer expanded capacity building opportunities and deepen our focus on themes more needed to support national road safety goals. We will share more information on the 2026 activity soon. With that, thank you once again for joining this final session of the year. I look forward to an insightful and productive discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those words, Director Chen, and really thank you for taking time to join us today. And also a very big thank you to the ADB and the CAREC program as well for your support of this webinar series, of which we wouldn't be able to do without that. Thank you very much. Great. Now, we often talk about where are the funding opportunities for road safety. So one of the greatest developments over the past years for funding activities in the global road safety space is the establishment of the UN Road Safety Fund that is now providing funding opportunities for a number of countries and partners that are implementing road safety activities across the globe. So today we have the honour of being joined by the head of the UN Road Safety Fund, Neka Henry, who will share with us a little bit more about the UN Road Safety Fund program and how that process works. Neka.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope you can see and hear me. Fantastic, great.
You can. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you for all the sponsoring partners for making this important series happen and also this particular conversation happen today. Good afternoon to everyone listening. It's really a pleasure for the UN Road Safety Fund to be present among you all. I believe that we have people from different member states, civil society, private sector, and of course, the MDB. So really a pleasure to be among such an eminent group of people today. So for us at the UN Road Safety Fund, I mean, the starting point is just a simple fact that, as you all know, road traffic injuries are probably one of the most preventable causes of death worldwide. And yet, for reasons which I think we have a long list of reasons, but still none of them for me are really quite understandable. We still have road traffic injuries and the work on road safety being one of the most persistently underfunded development challenges. And specifically for us in the road safety community, what we see is that the funding that is going through, the list that there is, it's being fragmented, it's short term, and in some cases at the national level and local government level, it's being treated as an afterthought. So these are some of the challenges that we see from the global funding perspective when it comes to road safety. And I think this is where, for us, we see the MDBs really making sort of a game-changing difference around financing, but not just as financiers, but really as system shapers. Because I think when MDBs talk and they have the conditionalities, people have to respond. They listen. And so by embedding safety into transport and urban development, in our health initiatives, in our climate portfolios, I think that MDBs can make sure that road safety is designed, for example, into infrastructure from the very start and not retrofitted later, which of course comes with a much higher human and economic cost. Just recently, the UN Road Safety Fund closed the annual call for proposals. We had a focus there on road safety data and also on motorcycle safety. But even in that we had 100 applications, and even through that process, we could see there were a number of countries reaching out to us through these proposals, saying that, for example, road concessions and other aspects of contractual relationships between government and partners did not take into account road safety from the outset, and now seeking support from the UN Road Safety Fund to plan ahead, that this kind of retrofitting is not really a reality for us going forward. So that's great that governments are taking initiative to really see how they can from the outset embed road safety into the work that they're doing. But for those who are unaware, thank you for that brief introduction, Jessica. The UN Road Safety Fund started in 2018 thanks to the leadership of the Special Envoy for Road Safety, Jean Todt. He was going around the world as the Secretary General's envoy, and really realized that there was a huge sort of technical capacity gap in many of the low and middle income countries that he was seeing. The legislative frameworks, which are sort of well known, well established in conventions in the safe system approach, were not being properly implemented. Technical standards were absent. Protocols that many countries have been successfully using in different parts of the world were still not fully understood or known by many of the low and middle income countries. And there were other range of issues there. And so that's what really motivated the startup of the UN Road Safety Fund, which is a global platform for all the stakeholders, whether they're private sector, whether they're member states, whether they're individual philanthropists. Anyone can come in, put some financing in place to help support and fund road safety capacity building projects across the world. And so since that time, it's been 52 projects that we've been able to fund across 94 countries, and it's really cutting across topics in the safe system framework. So we're there really in this context, to complement and to amplify the role of many of you stakeholders by providing the countries with support in three specific ways. One is in providing countries with practical training and support on how to identify and to sustainably prioritize domestic road safety financing. And that's an area that we're increasing our support in to build capacities, government capacities in that regard as it relates to domestic road safety financing. But a big part of what we've been traditionally known to do and have been doing over the last years is supporting governments to implement various critical legislative and technical aspects of the safe system approach. So whether it's around standards, for motorcycle helmets, or topics like ABS and raising awareness around that, or looking at the regulations around the importation of used vehicles. So a range of legislative and regulatory kind of system support we've been providing across the globe. And then finally, there has been quite a bit of effort helping the governments to integrate road safety into their broader policy initiatives. So primarily now it's really around the urban planning perspective, a little bit on the climate portfolio, certainly around health. So those are the three big areas that we have really been trying to provide practical support and training to governments as the UN Road Safety Fund. And even though I've mentioned all these number of countries and all these projects, we're really not a big grant fund. We wish that we were. That was really part of the vision of the fund. But as we all saw over the last decade, well, last 5 years even, there have been such huge changes happening in the landscape, both in terms of member state priority, but also in the donor landscape as well. So our focus in terms of funding has really been providing being a catalytic platform within the UN system to member states in this practical way, helping the governments to introduce or to strengthen the legislative frameworks, the data systems, the technical standards, contractual tools, which are all critical enablers for any country to sustainably address the issue of road safety financing challenges. It's just not money alone that's needed to fully close the gap. There needs to be legislative frameworks in place to support the utilization, optimization of funding, data systems, and technical standards, and so on. So we're there to walk alongside, MDBs and other partners to support member states in this journey. So if I go to the title of my presentation, which was really Global Funding Priorities, a very kind of three words, but very broad scope, there are three things that stand out for us from the perspective of the UN Road Safety Fund. The first one is really around private sector engagement alongside NDBs being a core funding pillar for as it relates to road safety going forward. Because as I mentioned, the climate is changing. So one of the consequences of that is the declining ODA. And of course, growing competition for public resources for a number of the other topics and crises that we're facing today. But the private sector, they offer really a viable opportunity for scalable multi-year funding. And so that's an opportunity that we see going forward. But the private capital, as we know, it rarely moves alone. So MDBs in this context, they're really critical enablers, I think, of that opportunity, using their convening power, their procurement processes, their policy dialogue that they undertake to bring, on board private sector. So we're talking about the insurers and the vehicle manufacturers, logistics companies, mobility platforms, and so on. And so, as I said before, when NDBs send a signal that road safety is non-negotiable, I believe that the markets would listen. And so I think that's a critical kind of funding priority area around private sector engagement going forward. Secondly, scaling impact through results-based and blended finance, anchored in MDB leadership, I think is also critical because far too often, I think policymakers are seeing road safety as a cost, and we need to together help to reposition this, reposition rightly so road safety as an investment, an investment with measurable development returns. And this is where I think results-based financing and social impact bonds and blended finance, some of these innovative models that Chen spoke about earlier, I think this is where, MDBs can help to bring these kinds of things to scale. And also with their kind of structuring expertise, I think, it would really make it a success and a priority going forward. So while the UN Road Safety Fund is bringing grant capital and we bring, as a UN, we have a neutral position. And we do have a pipeline of interventions. I think it's good that that's balanced now with what NDBs could do in terms of bringing this kind of things to scale. Maybe just to mention that another third area in terms of global funding priority would be, of course, and I think importantly so, the member states. They're the ones who are accountable for this SDG 3.6. But I think, of course, like with most topics, they need support from the partners and certainly from MDBs. So they are indispensable when it comes to this issue of road safety financing and how we're going to close that gap. Both politically, we need their engagement, financially as well, domestic road safety financing, but also normatively. So as I mentioned, it also needs to be coupled by improvements to the legislative frameworks, oftentimes to the data systems and so on. So I think from what we can see, governments' funding models around how we can do this at the national level and the local government level is evolving. Governments want things to be earmarked. They want outcome-oriented investments to show the value for the money and to report to their stakeholders, their citizens, and they're looking for policy coherence as well. So I think MDBs are uniquely positioned to help, and alongside partners like the UN Road Safety Fund and others, through policy dialogue and regional platforms, I think that we can help to turn political commitments like what we see in the UN General Assembly resolutions really into some important funded national action. So I think let me close by just saying that it's obvious that no single actor, even the MDBs on their own, can close the global road safety financing gap. It really does take a partnership approach, which is what the UN Road Safety Fund is anchored in, but our focus really on the normative side of things, the legislative regulatory side. So we need the MDBs to coming along with their kind of structuring expertise and their lending conditionalities and their influence at policy level as well, along with the government and the private sector to act together so that the impact can actually, be scaled and become exponential. So we stand ready as the UN, as the UN Road Safety Fund, to work together with all of you to see how we can really try to help the member states to close the financing gap that exists. And again, thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Nneka, and also a very big thank you to the UN Road Safety Fund for establishing this important program that is helping to sort of put road safety at one of the top priorities in terms of discussion. And I think one of the things that you said really resonated with me is that there is no one program or one funding source that can meet all our road safety financing needs. But the partnership approach is very important, and the blended financing model is also an important way for us to consider how we can approach multiple sources to help fill that gap. And like you said, Neka, it's a catalytic system that we've got at the UN Road Safety Fund. It helps start those important conversations and hopefully generate more demand for financing for road safety in our respective member states. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, before we move to our next speaker, Mark, can we please bring up the very first poll question? Having said that, while we don't always have unlimited financing, if we do have new funding available for your country, it would be really interesting for us to understand which areas would be the investment priorities for your particular country. What would your country be investing in road safety? You can just type your answer into that box and we'll come back with the results a little bit later in the webinar. Thank you. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Greg Smith, who is the CEO of IRAP. And he's going to be talking to us today about social impact bonds. The topic of today's session is about innovative funding mechanisms, and social impact bonds is one that we don't hear a lot about in road safety. And it's really great that Greg can join us today to sort of enlighten us about this new way, potentially, of being able to fund some of our road safety activities. So welcome, Greg, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jess, and hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me well and you can see my first slide well. Perhaps, Jess, you give me a thumbs up if those are both the case.
Yes, it is working well. And just a reminder to speak slowly, please, Greg.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So firstly, thank you all for joining this session. Thank you to the ADB, CAREC, and Japan government and APRSO for putting together this really important topic. As Jess said, I'm going to talk a little about social impact investing and results-based financing. As a little background, I'm from IRAP, the International Road Assessment Program. For those of you who are unfamiliar, we're a charity that focuses on road infrastructure safety. Our key donor is the FIA Foundation, but like Nika said and Jess emphasized, we do work in partnership with organizations all around the world, and our purpose really is to help put methodologies and tools into your hands so that you can help make infrastructure safer. Having said that, I think this area of mobilizing finance is absolutely core to our success in road safety. And as a road safety practitioner, it's something that I've had to sort of learn to be a little conversant with. And I think the entire road safety community would benefit from all of us sort of becoming more conversant and talking to and like bankers, because that is where we can make a really large impact. So this presentation, I'm going to talk to you a little about sort of a financing 101 from my perspective, from what I understand. I'm not truly an expert in this space, but my presentation is going to reflect the learnings that I've had in going through this. So the first principle really to talk about is results-based financing. This type of financing, it's essential for any social impact investing. So all social impact investing needs to use this type of financing. And it's different to traditional financing. In a traditional project, you're going to say, here's the money to do the project. So here's the money and build the road as process is going to say, deliver the outcome, deliver a specific outcome, deliver safety, then you get paid. And the way that you deliver the safety has some flexibility. And that's a really important part of results-based financing. So you might say, for instance, instead of saying we're going to build 200 kilometers of roads, what we want to see is 75% of travel happening on 3-star or better roads. Or we might say, instead of producing 200 helmets, we want to see every motorcyclist wearing helmets. And so it's a bit different approach that focuses on really getting those outcomes, but allows some flexibility. And the way that the financing ties to this type of approach, there's many different types. Jess mentioned bonds, but there's loans, guarantees, and grants and equity, all these different approaches that can be tied in with social impact investing and results-based financing. So that's point number one, is results-based financing is essential element. Point number two is to think about the types of investing. So traditional investing is where, you give someone some money, they do something with it, and you get your money back and a financial return. So you might say, look, I'll give you the money, you go and do your project, you do your business. After 5 years, you give me my money back, plus I want an interest rate. Let's say I want 10% extra. So focus very much on that financial component. At the very other end of the spectrum, there's the philanthropic funding. So that's pretty much where you say, look, I'm not interested in the financial return. I don't want my money back. I'm going to give money to you, but I want you to make an impact. I want you to save lives. I want you to create fresh water. I want you to create a more greener environment. So that's the other end of the spectrum. And so far, like much of the road safety efforts have been supported by philanthropic efforts. So organizations like the FIA Foundation and Bloomberg Philanthropies are philanthropy funders of road safety. Impact investing is right in the middle of those. So it's investing by organizations and people that want to make a positive social or environmental impact. In our space, they want to make a safety impact, but they want their money back and maybe a financial return as well. So you might say, I'll give you some money. What I want you to do is do a project that saves lives or make things better. I want my money back at the end and maybe some financial return. It might be smaller than what I get on the market. It might not be 10%, it might be 1 or 2%, but there's some expectation that I'll get that back. So it's right in the middle of those two areas. So those two key elements, results-based financing and impact investing, they go together sort of very cohesively. Just to give you a sense of the size of the market in this sustainable financing, this is a chart on the left-hand side from the World Bank. I'm going to give you the reference to this report a little later. There's each year for sort of 2021, 22, 23, 24, there's been about $1 trillion of bond issuances in the sustainable market area. So that's a combination of green, social, sustainability bonds and sustainability-linked bonds. So it's a big market. There is a lot of organizations out there looking to invest in things that will make a little bit of money, but also do social good. It's not just a feel-good sort of thing. It's a big market where there's a lot of money on the table. And to give you a sense, in Mexico, they issued some years ago an SDG bond, so directly linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. And they wanted to invest in projects that would help alleviate poverty, create good health and education and so forth. They raised $750 million. That's what they wanted to raise, but that was the subscription efforts was oversubscribed by 6 times. So they could have raised more than 6 times that potentially that amount. There was a lot of interest in funding that, and in the end, there was 154 global investors looking to invest. So just to put that in perspective, this is a big market, and there's a lot of investment looking for opportunities to do good. Road safety is very well suited to impact investing. It creates clear, measurable outcomes. We save lives, we create safer roads, safer vehicles, get helmets on heads, has that very strong social and economic value. Literally, if we do this well, there's going to be hospital beds that are not being used. We alleviate the health system, for example. There's scalable and proven interventions. A safe pedestrian crossing can be scaled up across an entire city. There's a huge supply of bankable projects. If you ask Nika how many proposals they get each year for their grant funding, it's oversubscribed by many, many times over. So I'm going to say if they're able to fund, say, 8 projects a year, there's probably more than 100 proposals that they receive at least. that are bankable, that could be done. So there's a big supply of really good projects out there. Very strong alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals. It's literally, road safety is literally one of the goals. It's in target number 3. There's many financial instruments and you get these long-term returns. If I build a safe road today, it's going to save a life today, tomorrow, and long into the future as well. And if you check out, see that picture there, ADB approves $400 million loan in Maharashtra. That's a results-based loan. So definitely worth Googling that and taking a look at the documentation to see how the outcomes are planned in that loan and how they're tied to the payments, providing those outcomes are achieved. And you'll see the IRAP star ratings built into that loan. So this is an active area that's already being used, but there's enormous potential to scale it up. And I think, again, as a road safety community, it would serve us very well to understand how to shape projects so that to attract investment. To give you another very practical example of this sort of impact investing approach, Brazil is very active in this space, working with the concession roads or toll road industry. So at the moment, they're turning a lot of their roads into concession roads to mobilize private investment into these roads. So one of the biggest ones was about 1,200 kilometers long, where they said, look, to the private sector, we want you to upgrade this road. We will let you collect tolls on this road. But in order to do so, you have to commit to investing to improve it. And the amount invested, the capital investment that what is going into this road is about $3.6 billion coming from the private sector. But very interestingly, they use the IRAP star ratings as the safety performance metric in that. And they modeled out over the next 30 years, as that $3.6 billion is invested, what will the star ratings be over 30 years? And they said, if you can achieve better than the star rating target, that's sort of business as usual, if you can lift the star ratings higher than what you would have done in your original proposal, we'll let you keep a greater share, basically, of the toll revenue. So what it does is say to the private sector, go ahead, invest your own money in improving the safety of this road. If you do, we'll give you some financial return on that. And the government is happy to do that because they know that by getting better than business as usual safety outcomes has a huge impact on their communities. People are not landing in hospital anymore. So very creative way of getting the private sector to be proactive in investing in safety. Another nice example, again, in the concession road area is the company Aliatica, are again a concession road company, mostly with their operations in Mexico, but actually managing roads all around the world, including in Italy, like you can see that photo there. Aliatica's main investors are an organization called IFM Investors. And IFM is an organization that puts together funds from the pension funds around the world, but particularly in Australia. And they use those funds to, again, invest in companies that get a financial return for those pension funds, but also generate a positive social impact. So they're very focused on contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. So the investors really want to see that they're doing good. So Aliatica, owned by those investors, has a very strong sort of motive and intent to do good in road safety. They established the Aliatica Foundation. They ensure that all their roads are better than business as usual. So they've assessed all of the roads that they operate and have invested in safety improvements to lift their star ratings beyond what they're required to by national standards. But they're also running programs to get helmets on heads, do training with police, and building safety around schools. So it's a good way of ensuring, like a government can ensure that when the private sector has sort of the license to operate in their country to make profit in a country through, in this case, through doing infrastructure, there's also this element where they do good, do social good. And so that sort of need can align very well with what the government needs to do, but also what the investors need to do. So a key element, again, is ensuring that we develop as a road safety community, projects that are bankable and attractive to investors so that they can realize that this space is not just about traditional areas sort of in green space in terms of sort of environmental improvement or traditional social space, but road safety is a genuine area where impact investing can happen. So if you're shaping a project, there's a couple of things you need to think about. Key principles one is the intentionality, like when you're shaping an investment and you want to be able to leverage impact investing or investing funds, you need to make sure that your sort of intention is very clear. And key is that you need to be deliberately doing something that goes beyond business as usual. Can't just be coincidental that you're doing a project. And by the way, it's like if I do it as normal, it's going to have social benefit. It needs to go beyond that business as usual, which is a phrase that's used often. It needs to have measurable impact. So you need to be able to measure how many lives is it going to save? How many helmets do we get on people's heads? How many new cars have a better safety rating and so forth? And those measures need to be evidence-based, so very transparent methodology for calculating them. There needs to be a financial return. As I said before, usually impact investors want their money back and maybe a little bit extra in terms of a small sort of financial return. So that does need to be part of it, and that adds to the complexity about where you get that funding from. There needs to be contribution in terms of the funds. So you need to be mobilizing funds that you wouldn't have otherwise been mobilizing. And then the risk management is an element that needs to be considered. These sorts of projects where you're seeking to have social impact sometimes are a bit more risky than a regular sort of investment project because by definition, you're trying to change things, trying to do things a little different. So the management of that risk is something that needs to be acknowledged and worked on as well. So let me give you a very simple example. Imagine a government says, look, we want to establish a road safety impact bond to improve the safety around schools. And they say, look, we want to raise $50 million for safety improvements around schools. We promise that whoever invests, whoever buys these bonds, we will pay them back and with an interest rate of say 1%, but also we will ensure that the safety actually does improve around schools. So you might see impact investors provide that upfront capital. They say, okay, we will put the $50 million into that. And like I said, there is a big market for impact investors around the world. You saw from the Mexico example, I think more than 100 global investors were interested in that one. Those funds are then used by some organization to make the safer school crossing. So they go ahead and implement the projects that are going to have the impact. Importantly, there's an independent evaluation of those. So you measure those and say, are we achieving the outcomes that we promised? Are they evidence-based? And sort of the interventions that we're doing are going to lead to that social impact. And then the outcome funder pays for success. And that outcome funder part is incredibly interesting. That may be the government says, right, we will now pay back your money plus the interest rate. But you may also say, oh, look, we need some support. This is where a philanthropy funder might come in and say, okay, I will take care of the extra 1 or 2% to pay that extra part to the investors, or the development banks may support that as well. So that part is where the financial sort of intricacies get quite interesting. But again, from a road safety community, this sort of approach is something that I think us being very conversive with is going to be incredibly valuable in the future. There's a fantastic guide that the World Bank published a little while ago. It's called Catalyzing the Sustainable Finance Market to Bridge the Gap. And it explains the things that I'm saying, I think, in much greater detail and probably much more accurately. But it's got this one fantastic table, and I'm not going to go through the details of it here, but it's summarized. It's got this column called eligible use of proceeds. That's basically projects that will comply with the sustainable financing markets. These are ones that you can say, look, if we do a project like this, it is eligible for the sustainable financing markets. It means an investor who wants to make a social impact can feel confident that if they're investing in one of these projects, their money is being put to good use for good social impact. It includes improving vehicle inspection systems, road infrastructure works on regular roads or in urban areas, digital improvements of traffic management and speed control, i.e. speed cameras, for example, integration of public transport systems with infrastructure projects. So, for example, pedestrians can get safely to and from the bus stops, automated speed enforcement devices, upgrading roads for climate resilience, improved emergency medical services and trauma centers. And on the right-hand side, you can see the metrics that can be used to measure the impacts of those. So they've already specified what sort of metrics can be used. And importantly, all the projects here and all the metrics comply with the International Capital Markets Association methodologies and rules for ensuring that these are genuine sustainability investments. So really important guide for everyone to take a look at. So that guide is the third one that you can see on the screen there. Definitely worth a look. There's a couple of other documents that I also recommend you take a look at. ADB did a fantastic blog recently about fixing the funding gap in Asia. And it talks about this topic and several others, which is worth a read. The World Bank put together a report some years ago about mobilizing private investment in road safety. So much of what I've just said is also underpinned in that document. And the FIA Foundation during the Morocco Global Ministerial Conference released that report on life support. And gives you some sort of insights into the state of play at the moment on financing. So Jess, this is a whirlwind trip through some of the financing. Hopefully it's been helpful, but also very happy to have follow-up conversations with anyone.
Thank you so much for that fantastic presentation, Greg. I found it fascinating. When you started explaining how impact investing sort of works, it sort of makes you wonder, why are we not doing more of it? Not only can it generate, returns for our investors, more importantly, it's actually generating the road safety outcomes that we want to see on our roads. And I've got a million questions that I want to ask as a follow-up, but we might keep that to the Q&A section at the end. But I do encourage you, if you've got any questions for Greg or Neka or any of our other speakers, do pop it into the Q&A box. So once again, Greg, thank you for that wonderful presentation, and we'll see you in a bit in our Q&A section. Now, Mark, can we bring up the results of the very first poll? Now, the poll question we wanted to ask, we don't have a magic wand and funding will just appear, but if we did have new funding available, what would be the investment priorities for your countries? Now, I can see that people have answered. Mark, I can't quite see the actual individual answers though. Sorry, everyone. I think we're just having a bit of technical difficulty with that poll. I can't seem to see the answers. Mark, if you can have a look at that. But in the meantime, if you did actually answer that poll question, if I can just ask you very kindly, can you pop your answer into the chat box as well, so that we can have a look at that again a little bit later in the section. Now, next, we're going to move into the private sector. We've heard from both Neka and Greg about the importance of private sector investment in road safety. And private sector investment in road safety is another avenue that we can bring additional funding into the work that we need to see done. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a whole webinar that focused on how private-public partnerships can help accelerate road safety in our respective countries. And today, I'm very pleased that Mei Ling Tan from Bridgestone Asia Pacific is able to join us for this important conversation. It would be remiss of us to talk about innovative funding solutions without bringing in the private sector into this conversation. Mei Ling very kindly joined us at the conference held on financing in Manila at the ADB headquarters in September, and we're very pleased to have you join us again today to share some more insights on the contributions of the private sector in road safety. So thank you, Mei Ling, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. You can hear me well?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me in this webinar. My name is Mei Ling. I'm the Director for Corporate Social Responsibility at Bridgestone Asia Pacific. Also hold the role as the President for our Community Engagement and Social Impact Working Group in Bridgestone. Together with me is my colleague, Yan Yan. She is also here to answer questions pertaining to road safety initiatives you may have later on. And we are delighted to join this important discussion on strengthening and diversifying of financing for road safety. We can provide a little bit insights from the private sector viewpoint. And road safety is a critical part of a Bridgestone mission globally and in Asia Pacific. And today I will share our approach to funding road safety projects, what we look for in partners, and how we implement programs and with a measurable impact. Mark, can you go to the next page, please? So before I dive into the our road safety work, let me give you a snapshot of Bridgestone. We operate in more than 150 countries, about 125 employees worldwide. Our mission has remained unchanged since day one. That is serving society with superior quality. So if you can see the picture on the left, Mr. Shojiro Ishibashi believes that the business will do well by doing good. So that's our fundamental mission of serving society. As a global leader, we are deeply embedded in road safety systems, and which road safety is also natural and essential focus for us. And we are, of course, committed in supporting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3.6, that is to halve road death and injuries by 2030. So if you go to the next page, please. So our flagship initiatives is Bridgestone Road Safety Program, in short, BRSP. It is a long-term integrated strategy designed to make a journey safer for all. And as you know, there are a lot of areas when we talk about road safety, and we group it into four key focus area. That is safer mobility, where how people drive, ride, and travel. Safer community, that is raising awareness and knowledge on road safety. Safer roads is about improving infrastructure and traffic environments. And most importantly, employee engagement, where we mobilize thousands of our employees as volunteers, where we have a KPI, a goal that 30% of our teammates will volunteer by 2030. So this integrated approach ensures that our investment deliver meaningful and measurable impact. Can you go to the next page, please? So rather than running isolated projects, right, BRSP takes a cohesive and evidence-based approach, right? We retired the less effective initiatives locally and focus on a proven intervention that can be replicated and tailored to different traffic environments. And of course, like what Neka has mentioned, partnerships is essential. You cannot do this alone. And a partnership is at the heart of our strategy. We collaborate with global and local partners to create more models that are efficient, that are scalable, and that are impactful, right? And to make the whole implementation easier, we have developed the Bridgestone Road Safety Program playbook, a playbook where our leads on the ground can just plug and play, right? It is a resource that helps us to spend more time doing and less time planning. Can you go to the next page, please? So this is the BRSP playbook. Is our go-to resource for building sustainable program. It creates a successful case study and provides templates for selecting program, focus area, and also structuring initiatives. And we constantly update this the playbook from time to time. For example, we are going to update it in 2026 as well with new best practices. So it ensures that every dollar and every hour invested is used effectively. You know, you don't have to, some markets don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can just look into the program that's suitable and use it from this playbook. So it's also support the business case for road safety by demonstrating measurable outcomes. Of course, in 2025 itself, we are focusing into impact assessment. So I would say that we are still very young in Bridgestone Road Safety Program and still continuing looking into improvement. So can you go to the next page, please? So let me show you how we have evolved over the years. And in 2019, we began to identify focus areas, the 4 focus areas for Asia Pacific, because when you look at it, every market doing all different programs, and you are not able to sort of build a scalable program, as I mentioned earlier. And 2020, we have joined GRSP, the Global Road Safety Partnerships, and we have conducted a regional landscape analysis and looking into the countries and what are the needs on the ground, right? You have to look into or what is needed on the ground and what we can provide, and looking into partnerships. And in 2022, we formalized the Bridgestone Road Safety program structure and the vision globally, not only locally, not regionally, not only in Asia Pacific, but globally, where road safety become a globally aligned initiatives. And last year itself, we have implemented the 91 road safety initiatives across the 28 countries, and more than 60, it's around 65 programs with partnerships. And we were also honored to receive the Prince Michael International Award, Road Safety Award last year. If you go to the next page, let me quickly mention about the partnerships and how our success depends on all these partnerships and resources, right? So we look into the experts and the advocates, such as the international and road safety groups, the government agency, NGO, for example, GRSP, because we are not the road safety experts, right? And we will need to work with partners. And of course, our communities, ensuring that the program address the local needs and humanitarian priorities, because if you have to pinpoint the needs, and of course our employees, they are our boots on the ground. With this year itself, we have 22% of our volunteer participate in Asia Pacific, not only road safety, but across the community engagement programs that we have. So together with this, all these, the partnership really make a difference. Can you go to the next page where I will briefly mention on what we look for in a partner? So when we fund road safety projects, priority will be given to the markets where we operate in, right? And then we look for partners who can bring technical expertise and strong advocacy for road safety, which I mentioned earlier. Familiarity with the evidence-based approach and also the behavior change programs, and not just simply go in and do touch and go kind of program. So it has to be proven experience in implementing projects in the local market, which is pretty tough for us to select partners in certain markets because we couldn't find the proven, the experienced partner. And also the capability to collect data and conduct impact assessment, which is the most essential, right? Of course, lastly, the strong governance, reporting, transparency. These are fundamental to ensure that our collaboration will be able to deliver measurable and sustainable impact. So in the Gs, these are the what we look for in a partner. But of course, it's easier to say than done, and we constantly looking for good partners. So if you go to the next page, for the next 3 slides, I have some case studies briefly. In a brief, maybe I'll share 3 programs that we have. For example, in Thailand, we partner to deliver road safety training for 16 schools over 4 years. We engage with volunteers, collect data, implemented infrastructure improvement using IRAP star rating for school. After the upgrades, of course, the safety level improved significantly. We then hand over the project back to the local stakeholder, empowering them and to sustain these efforts. It's just like teaching them to fish rather than providing fish, kind of a scenario. So if you go to the next page, is about the project that we have in Indonesia, where we work with transportology to assess school risk in Bekasi, and we conducted few survey, stakeholder meetings, training sessions, both online and face-to-face. We have implemented infrastructure improvement and measure impact using IRAP ratings before and after the intervention. And the project shows how evidence-based planning and strong partnership create the safer journey for children. So just to add on a little bit, in each of the markets, we have the local leads who would know what are the needs on the ground, because we in the head office might not have the full view or full visibility of the needs on the ground. Therefore, in each market, we will have a person that is working on the ground. So if you go to the next example or case study that is in India. As you know, in India, 2% of the profit after tax goes to CSR. Therefore, we have quite a substantial funding in India itself to run a lot of road safety initiatives. And just to mention one of it, that is we focus on behavior change, promoting helmet and seatbelt use, discouraging driving under the influence, and reinforcing of traffic rule compliance. This might sound pretty fundamental, pretty basic, but it's pretty essential, and it saves lives, with this intervention. We use pop-up tests and pre and post training assessment to measure knowledge gain. Our partners undergo a strict RFQ process to ensure compliance and accountability. And also, we reach to remote communities, including waste collector, non-driving women, empowering, and then empowering them as the safety advocates. So these are some of the work that we have it on the ground. We could talk a little bit more during the question and answer session. So if you go to the last slide that I have, to conclude this, our tagline is life is a journey. Let's make it a safe one. So Bridgestone, we are committed to working with partners who share this vision. And together we will be able to create safer roads, safer communities, and safer journey for all. So thank you, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Mei-Ling, for that great presentation. And thank you to Bridgestone for your contribution and investment in road safety. I think one of the lines that you said right at the start, which is a motto of Bridgestone, is do well by doing good. And I think that marries very well with Greg's presentation on it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. We can actually invest, get the returns we want, but also do good for our community. And I think Bridgestone's vision embodies that. So thank you for sharing that with me. And we'll have you join us along with Yan Yan for our Q&A in a little bit. So everyone, just so you know, sorry, we did have a little bit of technical difficulty with the Q&A box, but it is now up and active again. So please do put your questions in there, and we will also encourage our speakers to jump on the Q&A box and answer any questions if you can. Otherwise, we'll try and pick it up during the Q&A section. Fantastic. Now we're moving on to our very final speaker for the webinar today. I think a lot of people have asked over the last 3 sessions and the previous editions of the webinar series as well. Well, I'm a small NGO, I'm a small company. How can I leverage funding? How do I get financing to actually assist with my road safety work? So I'm very pleased to be joined by Chinara Kasman-Betova from the Public Association of Road Safety to share her experience with her NGO on how they actually leverage funding for the work that they do in their country. So welcome, Chinara. It's great to have you join us. Your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this great webinar. Thank you for all those who organize this webinar and make possible to speak. Today, I will speak on leveraging funding for road safety in Central Asia. Next slide, please. Actually, yeah, I'm representing Kyrgyz Republic, Kyrgyzstan. My name is Chinara Kasman-Betova. I'm a director of Public Association of Road Safety. This is an NGO, first and the only NGO probably in Kyrgyz Republic focusing on road safety. We worked with developing national road safety strategy in our country, providing expertise, support development banks and projects on road safety. And the next slide, please. This is our main focus of work, of course, creating and enabling an environment and leveraging our partnership. This is our main area of work to make successful policy development and investments that incorporate road safety from the outset. In my presentation, I will speak on I will touch upon 4 themes. And next slide, please. I will start on strategic partnership and international networks. Many speakers have already mentioned about this, how partnership is very strong in our case. So international partnership and networks such as EAST, Global Alliance of NGOs and Road Safety, FIA Foundation, give us access to international expertise and grant funding for NGOs such as us. who are then able to advocate for road safety and funding at local levels. The continuous annual grant program from East, our main partner, has supported me, and based on this support, I have been able to develop my own activities and to develop my own organization. This is really needed for the sustainability of our activities and for the NGO. Through the Global Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety, we have received grants for advocacy during UN weeks, and we were able to attend international events such as the Global Ministerial Conferences on Road Safety. NGOs are permanent institutions in the countries that are able to keep road safety on the agenda amid government changes. And they are also a key player in connecting projects with local communities to ensure cost-effective interventions. International networks helps us amplify national successes on the global stage, gaining recognition which encourages ongoing governmental action and investment. Next slide, please. 30 km per hour. This is a project we started from 2021, and our key sponsor donor organizations, our key partners were East and FIA Foundation. This project connected to Stockholm Declaration, its response to global plan for the decade of action on road safety. And at this project, first we started with the pilot project in 2021, only with 3 schools, 32, 42, and 96. And the 30 km per hour size and all the infrastructure works has been supported by our Ministry of Transport departments, Ministry of Internal Affairs, and local administrations. Next slide, please. This project we highlight during our international and meetings, during our stakeholder meetings. We do work with traffic police, trying to bring best international examples, especially from the East network. During this project, we developed 30 km per hour brief. This is a document which we demonstrated, which we use in our work. And this is a challenging document, challenging misconceptions and providing evidence of impact, how the 30 km per hour policy affected safety of children. Next slide, please. By 2025, we reached 600 schools. 600 schools were covered by 30 km per hour the science and policy nationwide. We hope that we covered more than 300,000 children around these schools. This is a huge improvement from past 5 years. When 50 km per hour policy was considered slow and there was extreme resistance to lowering speeds. But still, many things need to be done in terms of traffic calming infrastructure, speed management, and enforcement around schools, so that speed reduction have an impact. And this project has been supported again by East and FIA Foundation. Next slide, please. Another topic, this is about our another project supported by the East and FIA Foundation and Safer Roads Foundation. This project is to demonstrate the effectiveness of infrastructure works. Infrastructure upgrades has been uptaken at 3 big crossroads in Bishkek. Bishkek is capital of Kyrgyz Republic. And key area of our work was to challenge local norms and road engineering standards. Kyrgyzstan works follows with cost and SNP road engineering standards. With support of the Safer Roads Foundation, who covered infrastructure costs, East and the FIA Foundation, we implemented infrastructure upgrades at 3 crossroads in Bishkek with aim of improving safety, but also demonstrating and measuring the impact that implementing best practice infrastructure that can have on things like speed, crash risk, and public perceptions of safety in a local context. It was adapting international best practice for the local environment and building the case for infrastructure investment and policy. Next slide, please. So you can see one of our crossroad, which is Moskovskaya Beshnalieva crossroad. First ever pedestrian safety island have been put in the in our republic, and it's itself proves how it can provide safety of pedestrian. Next slide, please. So it is in all the 3 crossroads, packages of infrastructure works has been uptaken. These are bringing new international standards like straightening crossings according to the new standards. We've put new traffic and pedestrian traffic lights. We've put new markings on all the crossroads. New road signs in all the corners of the crossroads, putting traffic light poles, controllers, which are also important. We put it new audio signals for people with disabilities. And of course, sidewalks, ramps, and stairs has been repaired. Also improving lighting system at all these crossroads. Next slide, please. And in our works, we hold before and after perception service, especially in our infrastructure works. And at this slide, you can see how, for example, at another our crossroad, like Ryskulova Molodaya Gvardia crossroad, police revealed 50% of reduction in crashes in the first year of the upgrade. And you can see how students students themselves support such kind of upgrades to be done in many other schools. Next slide, please. This slide it's about our star rating for schools project. It was first time when we in Kyrgyzstan implemented star rating for schools project in Kyrgyzstan, thanks again to the support of our partners, East and FIA Foundation. First time we assessed 5 schools using IRAP tool, and all the 5 schools received very low stars, of course. And among 5 schools which have chosen one is Budyonovka school, which is outside of capital city. And we again went through the package of infrastructure changes, putting signalized traffic light for pedestrians, decreasing speed on the main speedy road from 60 to 30 km/h, painting all the zebras on the speedy road and in front of the school, putting new signs on the main road, speedy road, and in front of the school. And all these infrastructure updates and changes improved the safety of children on this spot from 1 to 3.5 stars. Next slide, please. And in our works, of course, we do collaborate with our key national stakeholders. This is another area of work. We were part of a working group to develop a national road safety strategy for the Kyrgyz Republic. Project outcomes and learning contribute to the development of a national road safety strategy and goals, which focus on modernization of infrastructure and implementation of safe system approach. The National Action Plan demonstrates government commitments and gives policy mandate for investment mitigating risk for investors, and encouraging further development. So this is how we worked with our key stakeholders locally. Next slide, please. This slide also says about a project supported with many multilateral development banks projects, donors, and other key stakeholders. This project has been implemented this year, finalized this year. New road design guidance has been developed and adopted by our Ministry of Transport. This is a guidance on how to incorporate evidence-based safety measures taken from best international practice into future road projects. And of course, it emphasizes that emphasizing a safe road design is not only about life-saving, but cost-effective. And in this project, we also worked with many partners, as we mentioned before. Many partners has been involved in this project, which is ended this year again. Next slide, please. And another area of work, we do collaborated with many international partners. You can see logos from here on the slide. I wouldn't repeat, but by us, we as an NGO, thanks to the support of our partners, EAST and the FIA Foundation and many other donor organizations, we carry out our work in supporting successful implementation of projects, stakeholder engagement, providing technical trainings, doing works in data analysis. We do work with the community, which is quite important, supporting police and working together with police. We do support enforcement, which is quite important in our road safety projects, in implementing road safety projects. And my final slide would be about our future plans. Our future plans are a little bit different from our previous type of work. And by this final slide, I would like to stress out that in our future plans, together with our partner EAST, we are looking forward to creating regional technical forum to support principles of safe routes to school into multilateral development bank projects. We want to create a network of national road safety champions within the development banks, civil society, and public services. We advocate for better accountability in road design and construction, again through civil society and stakeholder engagement. Provide technical assistance to donors to overcome national barriers to implementation and investment through advocacy and policy change. And finally, we would like to provide relevant support to the national government to ensure continued progress around 30 km/h school zone policy and implementation of national road safety strategy goals. That's very short and very quick from me as an NGO. And if any questions, please. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Chinara, for sharing your work with our audience today, and congratulations on all that the Kyrgyz Republic has achieved in that road safety space. I think you've demonstrated that an NGO doesn't have to be big and powerful to be able to achieve these great road safety outcomes, but partnering strategically with the right organizations can also help deliver those road safety outcomes that we want to see. So congratulations to you and your team for all that you have achieved. Please stay there with us, Chinara, as we move into the Q&A section. And everyone, if you don't mind staying on the line for just a few extra minutes so that we can have a conversation with all of our speakers. Mei-Ling, Yan, Neka, Greg, can I ask you to come and join us for the next section? And while they're coming back online, Mark, can you please bring up the second poll question? So you've heard in turn from each of our speakers today now on different funding options, which one do you think would have the most potential for your country? What do you think would be most feasible? So if you want to answer that while we have a quick chat with our speakers. So I might just turn to Neka, and given that we are a little bit limited on time, I would just ask you to keep your answers short and sharp, like within 30 seconds, so that we can get a chance to speak with everyone. Neka, thank you once again for sharing a little bit about the UN Fund and the impact that it's had. I think something that's on everybody's mind is there a next round, and when would that next round be available?
I think the answer is yes. We are funding the projects based on the contributions that we receive. So we hope that that will continue to happen and to be the case. But we've just closed the last one. So we haven't even announced the results from it. So what happens is that next year in January, we will meet with the steering committee of the UN Road Safety Fund, and then they will decide the who's and the what's and the when. And we're also doing a new framework, a strategic framework with new results. So all of this needs to be decided because it will impact how we will be prioritizing funding going forward. But I mean, we definitely will be funding some programs next year as well. Timing, TBC.
Great. Thanks, Neka. And if people want to stay up to date on when that next round is sort of starting, they can subscribe to the UN Road Safety Fund newsletter.
Absolutely. And also keep in close contact with all our partners, which are many of you, including certainly on this panel, Greg as well. IRAP is part of our partnership, all the UN agencies. So keep in close contact with them. And also you can keep an eye on our website.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Neka. Now, Greg, I think your presentation has generated quite a few questions. One that I picked up from the chat is one of our audience members would like to understand, do the impact bonds benefit from government or World Bank guarantees?
Yeah, I think they can. So that, I mean, that's part of the point is there's a lot of flexibility about how they can be structured. That document that I shared about mobilizing private sector in finance for road safety from the World Bank, it sets out a series of models to sort of consider that governments and the banks can think about. But guarantees, I think, are an important part of that. Like one of the ways that the banks can help governments is by taking on some of the risk associated with investment. So let's say the bank borrows money, country borrows money to invest in road safety. One of the risks that they face is that currency shifts. So sort of if your local currency versus the US dollar shifts significantly, one of the things the banks can do is say, we will take on that risk. If it does shift against you, we can take that on. So the country feels more comfortable to borrow without it potentially blowing out. And this is where it gets sort of quickly out of my ballpark of expertise. But I do think, here we have the Asian Development Bank, an organization full of bankers who I think are here to help us understand these mechanisms.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. And at the end of your presentation, you provided quite a number of resources. So really encourage the audience to have a look at those resources and look at how social impact investing could be implemented in your country. So thanks for that, Greg. Mark, do we have the results of the second poll question that you can bring up that we can have a quick look at while they're doing that? If you don't, just to our audience members, if you don't mind staying on the line for 5 extra minutes, we can get through a few more questions with our panel members. Now, you can see from the answer of the second poll question, the UN Fund is coming up as a winning area of potential funding for many countries. Neka, something for you to sort of consider. Social impact bonds are a little bit lower, maybe something that, Greg, we need to talk about a little bit more, because I see such huge potential for countries to be able to implement something like that. And private sector investments are something for Bridgestone to consider. And of course, the philanthropic funds are always very popular. Thank you for that. And as we can see, private sector investing is a hugely popular one in terms of investment opportunities for our countries. So Mei Ling and Yan Yan. A question from one of our audience members is like, firstly, they want to congratulate you for all the wonderful work that you're doing in road safety. They also want to know, how do you keep road safety as a resourcing priority within your company? We understand that company priorities often change over times. How do you keep road safety at that top, as that top priority?
Maybe I can take this question, Yan. As you know, we produce tires, right? We operate in 150 countries around the world. We produce tires, and road safety itself is already our priority. Therefore, it is obviously that we need to look into road safety initiatives itself, right? To remain whether the passenger, whether the pedestrian, the drivers are safe on the road. So it's already our priority. So
Yeah.
it's very obvious that and easy to make road safety our flagship program for Bridgestone.
Yeah, fantastic. And maybe a quick follow-up question. You mentioned that focusing on behavior change in Bridgestone is one of your key areas. Just wondering, would Bridgestone consider expanding out to other areas of road safety for investing as well?
So maybe Yin Yan can take this question because she worked very closely with our leads on the ground in looking into different initiatives. Maybe Yin Yan, you can take this one.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mei Ling, and thank you, Jessica and Flo, for the question. So, like what Mei Ling said, road safety is a priority area for us, and increasingly, we are also trying to improve the way that we provide social contribution and create social value. So that's why you see that particular slide where we look for in partners, where we want to be able to measure the social value that comes with our investment. When you say a behavioral change and other areas, behavioral change is easier for us to measure because we try to do a before and after. We are open to other aspects like infrastructural improvement or knowledge change, but we are open to explore the type of change that our prospective partners are able to provide. So we're not limited to just behavioral change. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks, Yan Yan. And that's very encouraging to hear that Bridgestone would be willing to consider other areas because, as you know, in road safety, we work under the safe system approach where other areas like vehicles and infrastructure can also make a huge difference. So it's good to hear you say that, Yan Yan. And as you can see from the chat, there are many people that are very interested in connecting with Bridgestone to see how they can partner with you for impact. So I'm sure they'll reach out to you in due course.
Yes, we are okay for you to share our email addresses, Mei Ling and myself. Yeah,
Right.
so they can reach out to us. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And feel free to put it into the chat and Q&A now as well, if you wish. Fantastic. Thank you. And now, Chinara, once again, congratulations on all the work that you're doing in the Kyrgyz Republic. And you talked about how, the strategic partnerships with East and the FIA Foundation have helped you leverage funding for your work. I think a lot of people on this call are very interested. How did you develop these partnerships?
Probably in my case, I was lucky to know the East director, Emma McLennan, from the first beginning for so many years. But by the time I started to work in road safety, we were working in various other areas. So when I started road safety work in Kyrgyzstan, this is the importance of contacts played a role. So that's how East helped me from the beginning to start, learning from the international standards. Of course, I knew that the road safety it's a quite serious issue in Kyrgyzstan. But the knowledge and expertise which East brought us to NGOs within their network, they provided me a lot of information about and expertise. how you can work in road safety, how you can develop your projects, how you can write the projects, how you can work with stakeholders. So many the small, we can call small the things to implement the projects, but at the end they bring good results. So we learned from our partners from the beginning. I was lucky to be in such situation to have this partnership from the beginning. Otherwise, if not this partnership, probably I would go through some difficulties to find the permanent, stable partner to work with and to push road safety issues in my country.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shanara. And hopefully platforms like these webinars and conferences that the APRSO and ADB have been staging would also help with that networking and for some of our partners to be able to connect with other stakeholders to be able to form those partnerships as well. So I could continue this conversation for a long time. I've still got many questions, but I understand people have been very generous with staying online, even though we're past the time now. So a very heartfelt thank you to all our speakers for joining us today. I've personally really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope we can continue some of these conversations in 2026 as well. So a very big thank you to everyone again for joining us. Thank you. Now, Mark, can we also please bring up the very last poll question? As usual, if you can tell us what you found most interesting from today's webinar, that would be much appreciated. And also, once again, all the materials, presentations, and recording from these webinar series is available on the APRSO Knowledge Hub. The website is provided on the screen there. So do feel free to go in and access any of these resources. And just while we wrap up, a very big thank you from me to all the audience members that have journeyed with us through all 3 editions of the webinar series in 2025. It's been a delight having you join us. I hope you have found these sessions informative and of benefit to your everyday work. We've heard from many wonderful experts and speakers throughout the 3 series this year, and partnerships and working together has been a key theme. While we can't do everything alone and there's no one source of financing or one, road safety initiative that can do everything, if we work together, we will be able to find mechanisms to fund the work that we want to do and also have the impact that we desire to see in our communities. So just from myself, a very big thank you, and we hope to see you in 2026 for other capacity building programs. So happy holidays to everyone. I hope you have a safe end to 2025, and I look forward to connecting with you in 2026. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.